Hello,
Hello?
and welcome to Living Little. This is our new podcast where we'll be discussing just topics and issues mainly within Chicago and putting our youth perspective as well as like other perspectives and inputs.
What he said.
Exactly.
I'm going to be, would you consider me today's first guest? Or
Hell yeah.
What? Okay.
FT Ayan Sayani.
Facts.
And I am your host, Zain Kanji.
I am the guest, Ayan Sayani.
And platforms this will be on is Spotify and a YouTube channel, so y'all can check the podcast out there.
Yeah.
So starting off today's episode, we're keeping it simple but very open to opinion, which is the issue, so to speak, over selective enrollment schools and their competitivity. So I'll just start off with your position. Like, what do you think of that?
I think we should, let's hone in the question into kind of let's talk about our personal experiences.
That's
with
actually,
selective enrollment
that's what we're
schools.
starting.
Okay, let's start it off like that. Do you want to go first?
I would say you go first because it's like it starts like higher and like lower.
Yeah. What? Okay, hold up. Okay, so I'll start first, right? So, I go to Walter Payton College Prep. Out of it's seen as like the Harvard of the selective enrollment schools is what I would call it. At least to the little 7th graders with moms that are on their asses just running around trying to You're eating a banana?
Oh yeah. Banana on the podcast? Come on, man.
Okay, yeah, so back to what we were talking about. No, you're gonna take this serious. Take this serious. Yeah, juice box. You got banana, I got grapes, bro. This should have fruit review.
There's no cuts.
No cuts, no butts, no coconuts. Except we might throw a coconut in there. Because fruits.
Coconut juice.
Okay, yeah. That's the moving thing.
Wait, so what's your story?
Okay. I mean, I don't have a crazy story. It's just I didn't apply to. Let's just explain the premise of selective enrollment schools. A quick thing about it, right? Basically, schools that are not your neighborhood school, you just test into. Most people are viewing this in Chicago, so they know it. But you just test into a school, get the points, and if you meet the points, you're in. And it's based on tiers as well.
Yeah.
The thing, so with me specifically, I didn't, I was originally going to apply to Northside, the second best school, and then I was just what if I just applied to the best one though? Because it's just known as the Harvard of it, right?
Yeah.
And then I got the right amount of points after taking the test based on my 7th grade grades, which we'll talk about later, which I think I have my personal takes on 7th grade grades. And then we'll talk about it. And then, and then I just got the points, I got it, and I was like, okay, this is the best school, why not go to it?
Yeah.
And so that's where I went. And you can give.
So my story, for me, mostly this process started in 5th grade. Just my parents were pressuring me oh, you have to work for high school. And they're at that time they're targeting academic centers, which is it's just middle school at those high schools. So it's viewed as elite middle school basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that pressure to get good grades started in 5th grade. I didn't start getting amazing or straight A's. I didn't start getting straight A's until 7th grade, which is the ideal.
Yeah.
For the selective enrollment process. And so I got straight A's 7th grade, which if I didn't say it's at a 900 point scale system. So 300 came from 7th grade grades. 300 came from this one test, which is called the NWEA. It was basically every question you got right, the questions got harder. Every question you got wrong, the questions got easier. And it was just find the average of those and give you points basically. Essentially.
Well, let's just talk about them getting rid of the NWEA.
No, let's just one second.
No, but dude, okay, fine, yeah. Okay.
Tasting is important.
Okay, yeah.
So, and the third part was the city test, the city enforced selective enrollment test. So NWEA went good for me, 7th grade. So that's about 600 points right there. Even though I didn't get a perfect score on the NWA, but that's just.
You're good.
And I personally, I did miss. I don't remember why. Maybe it was purely out of laziness, to be honest. I just didn't fill in the bubbles for 30 of the questions, which did take a hit on my score. But I did end up going to the 5th ranked Selective Enrollment school in the city of Lake
Yeah,
Tech.
yeah.
So regardless of my shortcomings, my application did end well. But I did kind of like reverse my application because like you're expected to put like the hardest school and then like rank them, so like you're more likely to get the hardest like Walter Payne, for example, because it's ranked higher. But I did my backwards, so I did Lane, Whitney, Jones, Northside, and then Payne. So that's just my story. Yeah.
I mean, I got, like, if we're talking the specifics, like, of the scores then, I got 300 on grades, meaning just straight A's. I got 98% on the Selective Enrollment test, so 300 on that. Now, the thing about, this is why I care so much about the NWA, right? That's the only thing I got, like, a point off on. So my final score was 898 out of 900.
Yeah.
But the thing is, dude, yeah, that's why I want to talk about the NWA. Because now if you look at what's happening with most of our schools, they got rid of the NWA. Like, we're obviously seeing students that... Okay, here's the thing. They got rid of the NWA and we're seeing students that kind of like would not have gotten in before based on like the lower categories, right? Because now I think the test is easier. Zahir told me, so one of my friends who goes to my Selective Enrollment school, yeah, he was saying that they didn't combine the NWA and Selective Enrollment, they just straight up got rid of it.
Yeah.
So that's out of 600 points.
No, so it's still 900. Rifa told me, another one of my friends.
No, 450.
Yeah, 450, yeah.
Yeah. But my point was that because they got rid of the only test that kind of finds your exact point of like where you are, because it gives you questions up until you start missing them, and then it meets an average of where you level out based on your ranking, right? Or your percentile score. And they just got rid of that. And here's the thing about the Selective Enrollment school. So a lot of people know like it has a bigger threshold to just get everything right. Like you could do, like, for example, I fucked up like 2 of the sections. Like reading and vocab, like I messed up hard, and I just carried on language and math. And like that just fully brought my score up to a 99, giving me all the points, right? NWA, you can't fuck around with that. Like math, you can't like trick around to get all the points, even if you didn't like technically get all the points.
Yeah.
So we see kids that wouldn't have met those, like basically we're seeing kids that are not as, like that are not in that same point ranking. So an 898 before, like for example with me, would not be the same as an 898 now. An 898 would be easier now, essentially.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing kids kind of like pouring into those schools based off that easier 898, which is the score required for Peyton, or at least it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing about that. Now you're probably thinking like, oh, that probably would make it more equitable. If anything, it would probably let in more kids that like more kids who were close enough get access to that education. Not necessarily because the class sizes are the same. And we're seeing kids that even that do meet that 898, but they put in that they're smart enough to reach that 898 or a 900. They're just by lottery and by luck having to be kicked out over kids who also met an 898 but just missed more questions, essentially, because now the testing is easier. For example, I'm not going to say who, but we have a friend who didn't get in to the top school, to Peyton, but got into the second school just by lottery. They met the scores for both, but they were just like, okay, we don't have enough space for Peyton, so we're going to let them out. That didn't happen. Like when I was applying, like you got in, like with that point, like you met the points you're in. Like because naturally, like the amount of people who met that point threshold were the amount of people that would be accepted by that class size.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Certainly, but also like going back, I definitely like. I do like grapes, but I guess expanding on the point on like them replacing the NWA and the normal selective enrollment test, I do believe it does have a lot to do with the tier system, just to promote this equity in the system, which I feel like my prior position would be that the selective enrollment system would be, I don't want to say unfair because it's equal competition among all elementary schools. However, it's very, like, just based on demographics, you can see who's going, which is also a reason why the tier system does exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do believe that when we were applying, the tier system didn't have as much effect as when like class of 2026 was applying, so the year after.
Yeah.
And just the cancel out, like, just based on studies, like majority of students who go to these selective enrollment schools are either white or Asian. And like the way tier system works, it's 4 tiers based on neighborhood. If you're in tier 4, it's hard, like per se it's harder to get in. Like you need a much higher score to get in a top school, whereas like if you're in tier 1, you don't need as much of a high score to get into like the top school. And you can just based on demographics, you can assume which like groups of people are living in those tiers. And like, I don't see my point on what I'm getting at. Actually, it's like,
but dude, but if there wasn't tiers, then like that would look like to cite your own U Chicago like the study that you brought up, or I mean, not like you were in U Chicago looking up the study, but like you know what I'm saying that you brought up earlier, like it's obviously beneficial, like it's obviously creates like equity because it's like scores, and it's not like a lot of people. Okay, here's like a lot of shit that I've heard, like, oh dude, the tier system is racist because it has lower scores for like these demographic areas or like stuff like that. What?
That's what I thought too,
like,
but now
that's just that's outlandishly stupid.
That's what I would thought, maybe even like a few days ago. But like the more I thought about it, it's just like it's just based on where you live. Like it has
it's
nothing
based on
to
where. No. I would say, hear me out. It's not that. Oh, dude, that's like the gerrymandering thing. Okay, that's like when they say, guys, we're just making districts that are like, guys, it's like. It's for we're not basing it off race, guys. We're not packing all the Democrats in this district based off race. It's just, they're all Democrats, guys. Obviously, race is so heavily correlated with it. Well, it's kind of like you still obviously see a problem with it.
Yeah.
And my point about this is, it's like saying, it's not just about where they live. Like saying that tier 4 is just tier 1 is just a worse neighborhood socioeconomically. It's not about demographics or race. It's obviously correlated with it. But my point is that is not racist in any way, and it's just purely out of the fact that people in those areas do not gain the same access to, first, early childhood development. Second, environmental influences. Third, even things that are so fucked up, like in the Chicago system, for example, healthcare's effect on brain development, or not healthcare's effect, like infrastructure's effect on brain development, like lead in pipes that should have been replaced many years ago, that has been replaced for more advantaged communities. So I don't think it's not racist at all. It's just it's properly adjusting it for equal opportunities. So and those kids, they're not any. I think it'd be stupid to say that they're dumber, and that would imply racism. First of all, it's not that they're dumber at all. It's just it's basically the percentiles are being applied to that tier. So the percentile rankings are being applied to that tier, and that's what kind of creates those scores. It's not necessarily that they're bogging down the scores just to the creation of it wasn't really implied by racism. It was just implied by, or it was created based upon what the bell curves of scores that were already existent in that area. So
just accommodating for the environment of students there. Which I do agree, it's not racist. However, this has less to do with
great fucking head. I'm sorry.
You know what hits more? A banana.
Oh, bro. When your mom was like, take a kela, take a banana. Not for the podcast.
No, the grapes you have.
That's too much peeling, bro.
There's a 50% chance the grape you have in your mouth is not washed. Probably not 50%, but a solid 39.
Can you shut up? Please let me let me live in this state of ignorance, bro.
Nah.
I just want to trust that all the grapes I'm picking are washed, because I know I didn't wash them all. Or like I'm picking off the top, in which I think it'd be a little bit more probable than 39%.
But also, if you're talking about the fairness, like the equity of the selective enrollment system, I have friends with like whose families have exploited the tier system. Like say during the elementary years they live in a tier 1 neighborhood, so it doesn't matter how what their range is what the students' range is academically, like they can like fuck up, or not totally fuck up, like they can like do like very midly or like decently on the test, and like still get into like probably even a top 3 selective enrollment school just because they live in tier 1, and then their family's like, oh, but we have money, we have this and that, and so they move to tier 4.
And I think that stems from the fact that like because there's such like clear point cutoffs for every tier to get into a certain school that they want their kid to go to. For example, for Peyton, it's like 7-point difference between tier 4 and tier 3, and then like a different difference between tier 3 and tier 2. And they publish all of these too. They like have these like as a database. I remember, bro, when I was tweaking out about this whole like this like enrollment process, I would refresh every day on that page. Like I need to get this score.
Actually, now that I think about it, the only thing that got me to land is COVID. The point difference from COVID was insane.
Was it that much?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think that the only thing that would get you into COVID was that point difference, because everybody suffered from that point.
No.
difference.
But it's like everyone everyone got that point difference from COVID, but like just based on like the norms regardless.
You mean had they stayed the same, you wouldn't have gotten it. Yeah. I mean that makes sense, but also they wouldn't have stayed the same, which is why they base it off percentiles and not like hard scores. Because then no matter what the score is, like it's within a certain percentile. Let's say you had to get 98 percentile and above to go to Peyton, then like no matter what it is for that year, you would need to get 98 percentile and above. It didn't matter if it was an 898 or 640.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, what was my point? Oh yeah. One sec. I'm trying to find the quick ones. But okay, yeah, so like shit, where was I going with this? Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
Something about tier difference.
Yeah. So with these tier differences, the thing is, it's a double-edged sword in terms of creating them, right? Because yes, they do drive equity, and I'll go further. They drive equity regardless of holistic equity. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you had to. So this point will make sense once I explain the first point. So the first point is that the problem in this thing, the con of this, right, is that because there's such a strict point difference, you see people from tier 4 and tier 3 pouring into tier 2 and tier 1, changing their address, doing all sorts of fraud just to get their kid into a school, actively disadvantaging. But when they enter those pools of tier 2 and tier 1 kids, maybe it's not a lot of kids that they're taking out of the system of who would have gotten into those schools that actually deserve it or need it most. But it's still a few kids, and I think those few kids matter.
Yeah.
Because we still hear about this phenomenon a lot. Tier 4 kids trickling into tier 3, especially quite a good amount. And tier 3, here's the thing, tier 4 and tier 3 is a major difference. We live in tier 3.
Yeah.
We know our socioeconomic status is not crazy, right? Here's the thing, and we know that our socioeconomic status is very different from those in tier 4, but so much different to the point where, but it's still so much different to the point where there is still crucial breaks in things like the affordability of tutoring, the affordability of selective enrollment tutors, things like Kumon and other resources when we're younger, right? So that those still play an active difference, and when kids pour in, that takes out of kids pouring from tier 4 to tier 3, it takes out of those who would have deserved to get in from tier 3. So that's a bad point, right? That when you create those tier 3 divisions, tier 4, tier 3, tier 2 divisions, kids will start pouring in, and fraud will be done. Yeah. So that's a con to the system. Now here's why I would still have it as that rather than a possible fix to that system, which is like introducing holistic things into the application. So things like your extracurricular activities or volunteer involvement, things like that. If you were to introduce that to try to hedge against some of those things, where like point cutoffs are the only things that matter, like hard testing and grades are all the only thing that would matter, think about it like this. You fundamentally change a shit ton. Like from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, like so much so that kids who would have become absolute bright geniuses and like intellectual monsters, like in grade 10, grade 11, could have been like complete like disasters, like in grade 7 and grade 8. And the thing is, so it's like those little differences could have made the difference between like huge paths of life and like huge, defined by like academic tracking, which I'll get into after this. But like, dude, just trust, bro. The tracking, dude. But like,
The tracker yapper.
bro, you gonna put that in the thumbnail? Tracker yapper versus banana muncher, bro. Holy shit! You opened that up so fast too. I was thinking about introducing the fruit like mid-episode, nice little like mid-yap snack. Ooh, but no, bro. Bro opened the banana right as we sat down. Like bro got to glazing from the start.
You're the one. You anti-glazing the tier system right now.
Fuck the tier system. No, I'm glazing the tier system. That's my point. I'm glazing the tier system because had you introduced all the holistic shit, then kids as we do with the college process, then like it would be way too much variance in like where kids would have gone, depending on like the system of tracking and stuff like that. Because obviously the high school you go to is gonna have major influences on which college you go to, and not just that, your personality, your desire, like your inherent drive to do things, your intrinsic drive. I mean, huge consequences.
Yeah.
How many minutes are we at?
Let me check it out. 21. Not bad.
Okay.
What was I saying?
Did you hear that? Bro, Wake Up by Dom Corleone just started.
I love Wake Up by Don Corleone.
But why did it start playing?
You about to get copyrighted.
No, I pressed this once. Like, is it Wake Up? Hey, bro, chill out. Like, okay.
I gotta do that tomorrow morning. But also, kind of a weird switch up.
Wait, I didn't finish my point.
Oh, make
Finish
it,
my
make
point,
it,
finish
make
my
it.
point. If we had all that holistic shit, obviously it would be too much variance depending on the person you are, and the person you would have became had that not existed, which I think could even be unethical in some ways. And so yeah, so that would be even worse. So I think like yes, keep the tier system, but like obviously kids will always pour in. Like parents will always try to fraud their way in.
Yeah.
Like the things.
But also like these holistic opportunities are like accessible to not always accessible to students in lower tiers.
Yeah, they're not.
Exactly.
That's my whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because then points would be taken off of them for things they wouldn't even have access to do.
And it's not in the
We're lucky because like volunteerism is like thrown at our faces from a young age, regardless of our socioeconomic status.
Which is
Next episode. Next episode. Okay.
That's exactly what I was going to.
Okay.
Because just like for some like exigence right here, we come from a community called the Smileys, which is just like a sect of Muslims. Huh? I love grapes.
Keep going.
Yeah, so basically these Smileys are just a sect of Shia Muslims. We have a very diverse community in Chicago, having 3 centers, 1 in the city and 2 in suburbs. So there's constant communication, constant events happening. And it's actually that network which I would say specifically taking our Chicago, like people we know in the city. If there's one thing I noticed, either they go to SEN or they go to a selective enrollment school.
Yeah.
There's like no in between, at least for the Chicago.
Okay, I disagree with that. There's
Really?
not no in between. We know people who are in the in between.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The thing is, there's.
But it's like behavior-wise, there's still a big difference.
Yeah.
Like regardless of them being in the in-between, like you can see the split between selective enrollment and non-selective enrollment, which has, like you said, it has an influence on.
But I don't think that's causal necessarily. You know what I mean? I don't think that selective enrollment is what caused that. Selective enrollment is just a consequence of influences that created that.
Yeah.
Either way. But yeah. I don't want to get too off topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like that there's a lot of hidden treasure in all of that we could really get into. But
Yo, pros and cons.
bro,
Nah,
didn't your mom say don't get religious on this?
no, not don't. She said don't get political. Hey, next time.
Yo,
Has-
is there a Palestine
Oh, we can't say that. We can't say that.
But
The original title for this episode was going to be Selective Enrollment Sucks. I read 2 articles and
but unsucked selective enrollment.
I would say it unsucked, but I would say regardless of the flaws in the system, it's hard to make newer solutions, which is why the system's
Now I'll tell you why it does suck.
Mhm.
I mean, not why it sucks, but an aspect of why it might glaze a little bit.
Yeah.
Might. Okay, I'm
The
getting.
Glazer about to get anti-glazing.
I might. Okay. The problem with selective enrollment, along with basically every other thing, like gifted programs and like those types of schools, the kids who started out with really good. Okay, actually, no. I would say that no. I take it back. I just glaze selective enrollment even harder. Another pro of the tier system. Pro. Okay, because they don't do this in schools like Skinner. Schools like what are they called?
Hopkins. No. Hopkins.
Dude.
No, what was it? Nutria.
Yeah. No. Like I'm talking specifically elementary gifted programs.
Oh.
Skinner, Hawthorne, Bell, fucking Lincoln.
You
All
said
those.
Skinner. I thought you were talking about high school.
No.
No, I thought you said Stevenson for some reason.
No. Stevenson is bro. That's not even in the Chicago system, bro. But the problem with those things is they don't look at tiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem with all of that. Here's where there's a lot of disparity created, in which selective enrollment, the tier system actually helps solve or at least helps alleviate to a pretty, in intent, a very significant scale.
Mm-hmm.
So not significant, then
Yeah.
I would say that could be debated. But the thing is, it attempts to solve this issue. The issue is that, and this is a very obvious, not very obvious one, but a pretty well known one.
Yeah.
Kids who start out with pretty bad early childhood development, and that could be due to single parents having to go work, so they can't be around all the time, and various other reasons, like you can't afford not tutoring or like specific early childhood programs at that age, or afford to put them into those programs earlier.
Or cheap babysitting.
Yeah, well, we could get into that one. Okay, dude, you have to You have to stop tempting me with other topics, bro. This is the first episode and I'm ready to yap, bro.
You've been yapping.
I'm about to yap again.
Like I don't even know what point I made.
Good. That shit was ass. See, now I can't remember what point I made, bro. You the yapper. You just vacuumed my yap, bro.
Anti-yapper.
You just vacuumed that shit.
Tracker yapper versus anti-yapper.
Okay. Well, let me track yap. Okay. So those kids who can't afford those things early on, they end up going to basically elementary school programs that they can't get tested into, which was me. I couldn't test into those programs. I got lucky. I knew a dude who could get me into a private school, and then that's when everything, like the environment and like other family supports kind of got me right. Right? And then, but the thing is, most people don't have those connections, especially in those disadvantaged communities where those connections are less prevalent.
Yeah.
Once again, we come from a community in which they're thriving those connections. So those kids who can't afford it early on, what happens to them is, and I call this school-to-school tracking. There's tracking within schools too, like gifted programs and stuff, but this is more gifted schools and like ungifted schools and stuff like that. So then they end up going to their neighborhood school, which, if they can't afford things early on, implies that their neighborhood school also isn't funded that well either. So then their neighborhood elementary school, that ends up being whack. And if that ends up being whack, then they're not getting the educational tools they need
To help them push to like a good high school.
to have to push through a good high school. Now, here's where selective enrollment, here's where the tier system comes in. I'm about to glaze. So basically those kids who are in that circumstance, who've still tried all they can, or some other factor, whether it be literally some other factor, multitude of factors that like influence like your IQ, intellect, your capability on tests, all that type of stuff, right? academic performance. Like those kids who still made it to the top of their circumstances, right? Like of those circumstances that I just described, where they get tracked into that, like they have an easier chance in getting into those high schools, and then that's when they can kind of learn from the community and ideally thrive, right? Just like how I did with my private school that I like got connectioned into, essentially. But the thing is. But yeah, and the thing is, elementary schools don't have that system. Skinner doesn't have that system. Like those types of schools. Or at least I assume they don't. Somebody can correct me on this if I'm wrong. But the thing is, if they implemented this tier system early on into like elementary schools, then that gap or that tracking that solidifies and creates an increased disparity where more connections lead to more connections and the lack of them lead to the lack of more later on, that kind of gets fixed from an early age with the tier system, therefore creating more educational equality for those that can do it early on, rather than waiting all the way up into high school where environmental influences and kind of just like more solidified drives in your head, notions of yourself, kind of like end up solidifying, and even if you're put in the right environment or like granted into it by the tier system, you don't end up thriving in the school you're in. So putting it early on might be the move. Zin, this might just be the move. Like
we were put into that system though. Early childhood development was like very promoted among our community.
Among our community, yes, but I'm not talking only early childhood development. I'm talking implementing the tier system into schools like Skinner or elementary gifted schools.
Oh.
Because then that's like the whole point of what I just made. It fixes the educational disparity gap earlier, therefore helping you like kind of grow throughout that environment. Think about it like this. Let's say I lived in a tier 2 school and like kind of was on the trajectory I was on, not being able to test into the good schools and all of that. Like I would be solidified into that, and then even if I got into a school like Peyton, I don't know if I would have grasped everything or like thrived as well as I did. I mean, I didn't even thrive all that, but like, I maintained a good GPA, stuff like that. Like, had I not like gone to a private school from an early age, had something not stepped in early, which is, I mean, that's just like psychologically true, and like biologically true. But yeah, I don't see why. And it almost feels so intuitive to me that like I'm pretty sure I'm wrong about it. Like even right now, as I'm saying this, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, and that there is some tier-esque system to schools like Skinner, Hawthorne, and all of those types of things. Because it seems pretty intuitive. Or maybe it's so intuitive in my head that there's something obviously wrong with doing it, ethically or logistically, that could be preventing it. So.
I would say logistically for sure, because I'm just like trying to imagine like a reality where this is true. Like, say like for example, like we all lived in tier 1s and we all ended up in like Skinner's like magnet program or something. There's
also a lot of the kids who did go to Skinner. Or I mean, yeah, whatever. Never mind. Yeah.
Like that would just be like there'd be so many kids who would fall into that category, and it wouldn't be possible to like admit all of them. And there, I just don't believe there are enough like good like magnet like elementary schools that like can support like this many like young students as well living in these lower tiers. Like I just don't think it's like size-wise, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, you could say that. But
and the only reason I went to
so then I would ask you then, why is it possible size-wise for selective enrollment schools?
Well, I'd say there are two reasons. One reason that's immediately comes to my head. There's not just tiers for the selective enrollment process. Obviously, academics is a big part. From first grade to 8th grade, you've grown enough to the point where like you've grown academically. You can show that you are capable. And when it goes to the tiers, and like.
But tiers, I would say they show you're capable
also,
as well, but capable in the environment that you grew up in.
Exactly.
With the circumstances.
But it's not only just like there are high schools. There's like you have to consider that like total population. Like there's students who are less capable, and students who are more capable. According to like their academics and tests, along with tiers, like the more capable ones are more likely to end up in the selective enrollment schools, and that's why neighborhood schools are still kept an option. It's not
They're
like.
still got the option, and then all the funding goes to selective enrollment schools.
Well, I mean, that's just a city decision.
It's a city decision, but the thing is, the city decision is that selective enrollment schools. Here's the thing. From what I know, I'm pretty sure selective enrollment schools do get funded from the neighborhood around them.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see where are the 5 schools that are selective enrollment located?
Yours like, Jones and yours are like downtown area. Mine's Roscoe Village. I don't know where Northside is actually.
Northside is like it's like in like the most irrelevant.
I guess search it
But that's probably why nobody like talks to the school.
And what about
I'm
Whitney?
sorry, Northside. Whitney's located southwestly or westly. I'm pretty sure. They're all my point with this is that they're all pretty affluent areas. They're all pretty wealthy areas. And even if they're not wealthy areas, the kids who go to those schools, a lot of them come from wealthy families that end up donating to those schools as alumni. So they get funded really well. And neighborhood schools that are already, or generally they're already shitty, get the shitty funding around them.
Yeah.
That's my point. So yes, like that's why neighborhood schools are still an option, but if all the funding is taken from them, then do they really matter?
It's like.
And to go back to your last point about like then why don't those schools like I don't know. Then yeah, why don't those schools kind of like expand in size to take those kids? Because I haven't done enough research about this topic, but from what I know, it's also not that crazy hard to get into those schools in the first place, so the tier thing might not even be necessary. I could be wrong. I think that's where my intuition.
One of our friends did American Skinner.
Huh?
One of our friends did. Well,
Exactly.
I don't think he made it in. I don't know. Like,
I mean, that's not like.
yeah, no,
It's not like.
yeah.
But. Yeah.
What was it saying? Like.
No, yeah. I don't think their threshold is high enough to the point where it is that selective. It's low enough to the point where it would take in those tier 1, tier 2 kids that are at the top. So yeah, that's where my intuition is wrong. It's like, why don't you introduce tiers? It might not even be necessary in the first place. Because if it was necessary in the first place, then why isn't everyone from Skinner going to Peyton? You see what I'm saying? If everybody was 99th percentile, then everybody would go to Peyton from Skinner. And they're not. That clearly disproves my argument, or like tears apart the logic of my argument of applying tiers to them. So that's where my logic is wrong.
Yeah. I was gonna say something.
Bro, my mouth is dry as shit.
This is dry.
This shit is out. My juice box, bro. Okay.
I don't know.
What were you gonna say?
Cause I feel like there's this constant like switch. Because it's my point is very like race oriented. Cause like it's like again, I'm using myself as an example.
Yeah.
And it's again with what you said. I'm gonna take my magnet school, Burley, and Lane. So Lane's
No,
across.
my brother, I think he got into it.
Actually,
Yeah.
bros are look. I might use that as an example because Burley. When I went to Burley, I got in through lottery. I didn't test or anything, and it's like a neighborhood magnet. So if you live in Lakeview, like you're probably gonna go to Burley, but the people that live in Lakeview are majority white. So like,
And they can afford the things that would provide them the right resources to get into Burley, even if they had to test into it.
yeah, and also like, maybe I think you made this point, but it kind of just adds to the unfairness of tiers, or maybe not necessarily. But it's like
I would be milking tears, bro.
like
It's like shit.
the tier of the middle school you went to is gonna be relative to the tier of the high school you go to. It's like your enrollment levels.
Yeah.
Which is like that's where the unfairness comes in my opinion. Cause like, but
Give me
then
an example.
I guess it's not unfair. It's just hard to like, because if these high tiers are getting, But then the fact that lower tiers have a lower like score gap disproves my point. Now that I think about it. Because what I was gonna say is, oh, if you're already in the environment of a high tier elementary school, then it would make sense for you to go to like high school with a relative tier, with the relative like education track. But at the same time, lower tiers, they've been accommodated for with the score gap. So it's not unfair. It seems very odd to me.
Yeah, I see that.
Because I was trying to make a point of like,
I think it seems what you're trying to say is like, I don't know, I can't put words in your mouth, but
Yeah.
like, I see what you mean in terms of like, it seems odd,
yeah,
but in effect it's fair.
Yeah.
Like, in effect it works.
yeah,
It works pretty well. And that's just not us like talking out of our like little butts. Like,
yeah.
like the U Chicago study proves it. I mean, we're kind of just circling back to like a nice little pat on the head for like tier systems right now. Like good shit.
I guess like the only part that would be unfair is like the environments that students get in their younger years, like around middle school. Because like unless you live, because most students like they go to their neighborhood middle school. Most students.
Yeah.
I only went to a Lakeview middle school because I got into lottery. Other than that, like I don't know about how like schools like Skinner work. Like you test into those, right?
Yeah, you have to test and scan.
Yeah, but like
yeah.
like even those like I've heard very little like cases of students like me personally. I just don't hear any students like making it into Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm just like assuming like obviously the majority is like students just going to their neighborhood, elementary school. But at the same time, the tier system it just goes back to the point you made that the tier system accommodates for your middle school environment so that you're able to get into those select enrollment schools.
I think the kids who get into those select enrollment schools, even from poor tiers, still end up going to they end up going to somewhere near the gifted middle schools or like the magnet middle schools and stuff like that. But here's the thing, even those magnet middle schools are not crazy good environments either. Take for example Disney, magnet school. My brother goes to Disney. It's not a bad environment at all, but it's not where we'd see like emulated in our selective enrollment schools, essentially. But but yeah, I think there's like a lot of, we're trying to see like where's the overlap and why isn't there enough. What? Rose cousin said, yo, how do I get my hair to look like yours? Were you always combing it back? Low key with a capital L. He was like, wait, low key? Low key. You gotta put bro on. You gotta put bro on right now. Do a hair tutorial.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Unironically, this was a 3-year process. If you think about it, it was a 3-year process.
Yeah, because the same hair is on your head right now.
No, because like.
No, go ahead.
End of 8th grade, my friend just told me, because I did like my side part. So my friend was like, oh, start middle party. My hair wasn't long enough. Regardless, I still started middle party. Freshman year, went by with the ugly ass middle part. But by the end of freshman year.
That shit was ugly as hell. That shit was ugly.
But by the end of freshman year, my hair had grown long enough where I didn't need the middle part. I just went like the fluffy flow that he would technically have. Right?
Bro, we don't have enough time to talk about hair shit, but if I were to give my quick thing is, mine's also been a process, but more a process of like getting tired of like something new every time. First time it was like, man, I look like a block. Well, I look like a sword. Like my face long as hell. I grew out the back.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's getting really long. I cut it a little shorter. And then it got really long again. You know what? I'm gonna try to see the flow. Put it back, and I'm like, damn, my forehead big as hell. Cut it. And then now it's just kind of like,
it's mostly flow now, I'd say.
it's mostly flow, but it's kind of like a hybrid. Like I don't even know what I'm doing with my hair, just because it's just like I'm getting tired of so many things regarding my hair. So it's just like I just see what happens when I cut it.
But like, yeah, usually I've been rocking the flow for like from like sophomore year up until like earlier this year. But then like, or like during summer, my hair was like, it was basically as long as it is right now. I realized like when I didn't shower, it was gonna sound bad, but
When I did shower, when I took my annual, that's my annual shower.
like say I didn't shower, like I woke up, my hair would like just be in a good middle part, right? And like I'd sleep with full, I wake up in the middle part.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it.
But you made it happen. You made it happen.
And then like 3 weeks ago, I realized I don't know how, but my hair was getting slicked back in my sleep.
How are you sleeping, bro? Brought a pillow. Man, I'm tired as hell.
So
Like what?
so I just hopped on. There's 2 slick back methods. Both work. Honestly,
Thank you, bro.
no, both have.
Oh hell no, bro! What the fuck? Yo, I just saw balloons pop up.
I know.
That shit was creepy, bro. Like, on God, I'm about to break your laptop. Like. No, but actually, that shit was scary. Like,
But what do you think about the selective enrollment though?
nah, like honestly, like I got. Okay.
What was the saying? Yeah, there's 2 methods. I'm about to
This
put you
shit's
on.
45 minutes,
I'm
eh?
about to put you on.
Shit's
2
45
methods to slick back.
minutes.
If y'all want more of a very more raised like buoyant middle part, go with
Your boing's back at me.
go with the hat method. So you're not gonna necessarily comb anything. You're just gonna pull it back, put a baseball hat on, and like keep that shit on for like half an hour to an hour. And take it off. It'll be like very up. But if y'all just comb it back, it'll be not necessarily a flatter middle part, but like more. It'll shape with like the top of your head, which is what I did before. I did a comb slick back.
You're the method man, saying you literally the method man.
I think I pulled off the middle part better than you.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Cause my hair, it's rebellious. It's like divided. It's bipartisan. Some could say. It's like this one flows like your side, like how your hair does, and then this one it's just like nah, fuck that, and then it like flows.
Yeah, I thought you cut your hair today.
Bro, because I
It looks so flat. It looks really.
I know it's stop. What you mean by it?
I'm about to put you on.
No, stop. Nah,
Yo,
no.
towel method.
No, I put you onto the towel. Everyone and their mom put each other onto the towel method early 2021.
Not TikTok put each other on.
Shh. Can't reveal my secrets.
What was it? So, I don't know. Like, a part of me wants to go back to the flow because in my mind it looks better. Not saying that I don't like the middle part, but with the amount of compliments I'm getting with the middle part, I'm like, I'll keep it for another day. I'll keep it for another day.
Okay.
Do we have any other points to make?
I think it's time to wrap it up.
Because, alright, let's just recap. What points did I make? I probably made 1 point.
What is this like a point like yo low key? If we had like a score tracker like up here, that was just like Fire Point just dropped 1 point Zane, and we're like
I probably got 1 point this episode.
nah you cooked. But it wasn't like a debate or like
Yeah, it was more like just.
I think
like,
I just
a
yapped, bro. I yapped
Yeah.
hella.
No, but point.
I keep swinging your chandelier, bro. I need to stop.
This is not mine.
Yeah, but if it falls, then it'll fall.
Yo, let's just gas up and say this is our office area.
Yeah, cracked ass on. Okay, yeah, let's wrap up.
But yeah, overall,
I feel like nobody's even watched it like up until this point. So really,
clearly no one's watched it.
I mean, but like nobody will have.
Except,
Like think about this. Right now, they're hearing like our reflections on our own podcast that nobody watched. And if somebody does watch this, then it'll be like, oh, like got you there, like. You know what I mean?
this is gonna be like a peer into like our 3 a.m. discussions. Like literally.
I feel like we should only. You know, your laptop's been scaring me a lot lately because these 2 tabs are the exact same colors that I keep my group tabs for Babson and my other like applications.
How is it scaring you?
I don't know. It just looks a lot like my.
Bro, your
laptop.
Babson is done.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Can we wrap up, bro? Like, come on. Like, ain't nobody listening.
What was the
Thanks,
saying?
guys.
But like, wait, isn't there a selective enrollment system in New York too? I think. Maybe
I was hearing there was.
Yeah. That is one thing too. It only exists in these big cities because there is a variety in the student population.
Mm-hmm.
which I think makes
I
sense.
mean, in every city there's variety and shit.
It depends. Like if you compare,
But is it big enough to the point
you
where-
made this point. Like compare like like our suburb kids like us. Like there's more variety in our friend group academically than them. I'd say.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I see. That was a point I made. Yeah.
Which is why I think a selective enrollment, regardless, like, I'm still very like conflicted on the tier system because like I'm not conflicted. It's very hard to
I
like.
don't want to pull your tie off, real shit. But we're wearing the same tie, bro. Like, what do you mean?
Yo, wait.
Wait, now lean back. Yo, what is this podcast, bro? This is going on your college app? Yo, MIT, Harvard.
Go for kids.
Nah, this is... I can't say that. You just stepped on a grade.
It's your grade.
I don't care, you still stepped on it.
Yeah. Selective enrollment overall does provide opportunity to a lot of kids in Chicago, but they do have to prove their worth academically.
Damn, prove their worth is crazy.
It's true.
I mean, okay, well, you say it like that, I like that.
Yeah. Oh, everyone's
Yeah.
everyone is valued.
Yeah,
in the community.
everyone's valued, in our community,
And yeah, that's it for the first episode of Living With. Why are you caressing my neck?
Bro, trust me, come on.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna like intertwine your ties. No, it's okay. That's enough for our first episode of.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I would say your episode. I feel like I'm taking over.
With the amount of
Okay, like I know I yapped a lot, bro. Like, chill out.
Yeah, and that's it for our first episode of Living Little.
Yo.
Hope if anyone watching
Yeah.
this enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Some good points were made.
Yo.
Y'all probably learn about high schools in Chicago, and yeah, I will make another episode of this podcast.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right. Goodbye. That's crazy. We just did.